Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Greg's coming to you on the second day of July 21. Time on deck, 20:0300 hours Central Daylight Time. When the #2 man in charge of the military of a nation that put the biggest surprise attack on you in the last century, who happens to also now be one of your key, most trusted, closest allies, comes to you and tells you that you are in grave danger of having the same attack, a very similar attack conducted upon you right now, maybe, just maybe, just possibly you ought to listen just a little bit to this individual. Indeed, it has happened. The #2 defense officer in Japan, Yasuhide Nakayama, has, speaking to the Hudson Institute on Wednesday, told the United States that we were in danger of a Pearl Harbor attack right now. Wow. We're going to get all into this, so we need to think about this. I bring this to you, my eyes wide open and head on a swivel news series, so that you can know what you need to know to get prepared, to get ready, to inform your family that, hey, you better be prepping. This is part of my proposition of this channel to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. I bring you many videos about things going on in the world so that you can be aware. I also bring you videos about how to grow things from the garden without using stuff you have to go to the store for, how to make your own fertilizer. I bring you video from worms. I'll bring you videos on how to eat free from the weeds and the trees. So I highly suggest that you subscribe to my channel, bang the update notification bell, and click all to get more of these videos. Now, all that said, also, I help you out. I got really some good deals right now. And one of them is that you can get $300 off of a 3-month supply of food that lasts 25 years. And right now is the time to be prepping with all these things going on in the world, all the uncertainties that we're talking about here. Yeah, you need to be ready. And this food is great. It's 2,000 calories per day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You get drinks and desserts. This deal will make you a winner. And it's all you got to do is put the hot water to it, cook it. This comes out not being mush. This is real food, like you see in the pictures. It looks just like you cooked it regular. So it's not the mushy stuff. It's not dehydrated. This is freeze dried, and it's good stuff. Go to prepwithgreg.com to find that. Prepwithgreg.com, and if you can't afford 3-month supply, you get $50 off a month supply. Also, click on the My Patriot Supply logo. It takes you into My Patriot Supply, all kind of prepping supplies that will help you survive in these tough times ahead. So check it out. All right. All that said, yes, we have been warned of another potential Pearl Harbor, and in fact, one of the key reasons is the exercises of the Russian Navy right now off of Hawaii. That's been going on for weeks. So we're going to get all into this, and we're going to talk about what Mr. Nakayama had to say. Excuse me. So what he did is on Wednesday, he went to the Hoover Institute, and he spoke. And what he said was this. He said, give me a second here. He said, in error, unfortunately, that 70 years ago, we attacked Pearl Harbor. In truth, it was 80 years ago because it was 1941, 60 years in the past century and 20 years already in this century. 80 years ago. But he said 70. Okay, we'll forgive him that. 70 years ago, we attacked Pearl Harbor. And now the U.S. and Japan are very good allies. One of the best allies in the world. That's what Nakayama said. He went on to talk about the Russian naval forces, and he said they are really exercising right in front of Honolulu. So I don't want to remind the event of 80 years ago. He said 70, but we have to be careful of the exercising of the Russians. And he went on further. He says. He talked about how the fleet has been conducting these various drills near Hawaii over the past several weeks, including drills to sink aircraft carriers. And they did this like 35 miles off of Hawaii's coastline. And and they did this right there. And we repositioned actually our Carrier Strike Group 1 in the Hawaiian Islands operating area just to be ready for them. We scrambled jets several times because of their exercises. We let them know that we were there just in case they really wanted to try something for real. But this is what Mr. Nakayama said. He said, we have to show deterrence toward China and not just China, but also the Russians, because I told you that they are doing their exercises together. It's not, you know, it might be the Russians over here, but he said they're doing it in collaboration. China and Russia are very good. They are doing very good. They are friends. They are very good friends. He's really drilling this home. He said, but on the other hand, they are creating their own missiles capabilities, their own submarine capability, and sharing their knowledge together, even with academia. And he said, so we are, so we have to more focus on how to protect, and not just protect, but also how to hedge the risk. And he drew the comparison between a potential nuclear attack by Russia or China and the U.S. attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, his home country, during World War II. And what he pointed out was, you know, look, the warheads that we dropped back in, you know, were in the range of 15 kilotons. Now we're talking warheads much bigger, in the range of about 2 megatons. So he said, and actually he underestimated this, he said, if some country shoots a nuclear warhead from their continent towards Honolulu, that's missiles, the warheads, and this don't even make good sense what it's saying here, compared it to Hiroshima, is 200 times more than Hiroshima. 200 times, that's what he said. Nakayama said, so I've been to Hiroshima before, and I went to the museum before. From that experience and that perspective, if 200 times more strong the atomic bombs or torpedoes or missiles, warheads towards Honolulu, means that if you had something 200 times more powerful going to Honolulu, I think Honolulu will be erased from the map. So we have to think before using those powers. We have to think how to stop it. And I agree with him on that. Nakayama also described the growing threat of invasion of China as they pose toward Taiwan, and how Japan and the U.S. must cooperate to keep the Chinese actions in check. He said, what we can do is show deterrence, and also that an attack or happening towards Taiwan, it's straight to relate that it's not just Japan, but it's also the Japanese alliance. So I think what he's trying to say is that, you know, it wouldn't just be Japan defending Taiwan, that the alliance would step in. So, you know, Japan is really making some interest in defending Taiwan. They made some talk about it because their islands have been directly challenged by the Senkaku Islands by China, and Japan knows that they will be in a much they will be in a bad spot if Taiwan is in the hands of the CCP, because it will be a launching point for all kinds of stuff, and it would make things far more difficult for China to operate and Japan to operate in that regime, because then China would have a new, very strong strategic stronghold there in the ocean to project more power out to Japan and the lands of sea. So, you know, we've talked about that in the past, but Japan, you know, really thinks that they may be next, and so does Australia. So there are a lot of concern there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and do a little share. We'll just show you some of these articles. That's not. It's one of this one. It's kind of strange. Hang on a second, guys. Make sure I don't click on the wrong thing here. That's many tabs open. Just to be a challenge. So let's see. We'll go ahead and look here. This is in the American Military News. You can see one of these Russian naval WWIII class destroyer. I'm not sure I pronounced that right. Yikes. I guess that was Hawaii. I don't know. Did we just go to Hawaii real fast? Anyway, so we'll come over here and look at, this is Mr. Yasuhide Nakayama right here. This is him. He spoke, as I said, to the Hudson Institute. And yeah, it says we have to show deterrence toward China, not just China, but also the Russians, because I told you they're doing their exercises together. Oh, maybe the other guy just didn't. Another article I was looking at didn't transcribe this very well. This is the Pearl Harbor attack here. As you guys know, it happened in 1941, December 7th, 1941. In fact, some of the Chinese forces here. Ring of Fire, World War III fears as U.S. warned it could face a Pearl Harbor attack. And just to put things in perspective, here's the Wikipedia site on the attack on Pearl Harbor. That's where you can look it up, attack on Pearl Harbor in Wikipedia. And it gives you a lot of background to what happened the 7th of December 1941. We're not going to go all into that. You can check it out if you like. Just go to Wikipedia, type in attack on Pearl Harbor. It was a catastrophic event, but the United States recovered, mainly because our flat tops were out of port at the time. The bigger ships that were harder to reproduce. Let me stop the share. So what does all this mean? Could it happen? Well, it could. Will it happen? Let's hope not. Let's hope not. I always tell you, hope and pray for the best, but prepare for the worst. Why is Russia supposedly doing these trials because they wanted warm water area to conduct their exercises in? The fact that they would do it within 35 miles of Hawaiian Islands is, that is right in our waters. I mean, that is in our waters, guys. That is really over the top. That is sending some kind of a message, or seriously practicing something. You know, maybe it's just saber rattling because we're over in the Black Sea around Crimea. That could be it. Maybe they're a way to getting back. Oh, you want to play around Crimea? Well, look, we can also play too. We can go to Honolulu. I'm telling you, Russians would fight a World War III over Crimea. I mentioned that so many times because that's one of their chief warm water ports. You know, they still have to slip through Turkey, but they're making deals with Turkey right now. So Turkey just might let them do, even though they're supposedly a NATO nation. Turkey might let them into the Mediterranean, and who knows, maybe they can slip through the Straits of Gibraltar and have better access to the Atlantic than they would have coming out of the Barents Sea to the north, which is got a lot of ice in it for a good part of the year, 9 months of the year. So they really cherish those warm water bases there in Crimea, and also off the shore. You know, the Russians got a warm water base in the Mediterranean, not as large, in Syria. That's why the Russians are in Syria. That's why Russia's that Crimea area. And of course, the guys that we're seeing coming down into Hawaii are coming out of Vladivostok, which China also wants to claim. They're Heshiwali. So that's where we could have drove a wedge between China and Russia, but I think we may have lost our opportunity. So Russia and China are seemingly cooperating together. Why would they do that? You know, some of our generals, such as Milley, is saying, oh, you know, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, well, I don't think they'll do it too soon, not in the next couple of years, maybe within, you know, 6 years, you know, that China might make the move in 6 years. Is he being short-sighted? Is this just part of his wokeness? He is a very woke general, you know what I mean? So what's going on there with Milley? Willy-nilly. General Milley. I'm not fond of that man. I told you that before. So, yeah, a lot of you followers of the guys with a letter like this and that little quick squirrely tail hanging down thought the military was going to be making a lot of moves here in the last some odd months. And I said, no, they're not. You don't realize who's really in charge of the American military right now. That's not happening. Anyway, Milley, for one, and many more like him in the top field grade staff in the military. And that was thanks to the couple presidents prior, whose name, you know, started with a big letter without the squiggly tail. Okay, all that said, yeah, he fired a whole lot of the field grade officers and put in his own guys. And the man with a name that looks like this didn't replace him. Oh well. So there you are. So then you thought he was that military was going to go in and sweep everybody out for this guy. Nope, wasn't happening. All right, enough of that said. There is risk here. Why is Russia putting it so in their face? Hopefully they're just saber rattling, but you know, if they thought we were really going to try to take Crimea, they might actually do something. Maybe China will move faster than we think they will. Maybe they want Russia's back when they do it. Maybe, you know, if we get tied up in Iran and suddenly stuff is happening in China and Russia all at the same time, we don't have the capability to cover all these things. That's a three-front war. We reduced our capability to one front of war. You know, when the wall fell, we kept up a two-front war capability. When the wall fell, we dropped one. We're not quite back there yet, guys. But you know, what happens if Korea, Iran, China, or Taiwan, and Russia doing something else all happens at the same time? Whether it be Ukraine, Baltics, or Hawaii. And here's another thing: Hawaii is the headquarters of our Pacific Fleet. Yeah, Pearl Harbor, as it was, back in World War II. You know, we also have San Diego. So yeah, maybe they would like to hit that. Maybe they like to take it out, because then they would have Pacific. As a matter of fact, you know, maybe Russia and China are thinking, wow, you know, if we could just get rid of this pesky United States, the world is our oyster. We could have it and do it as we like. But how would they do that and not risk? They would have to have some massive strike upon our nation that brought us to our knees so fast that we couldn't retaliate. Part of our triad, though, is that we've got the airplanes and the silos that we can launch from. They would have, and submarines. They have to find some way to track, identify, and take out every one of our submarines, our nuclear missile launch submarines. They have to find a way to take out every one of them, to not be hit with at least 24 missiles. How many warheads they got murked down. They would have to take out, you know, all of our silos. Now that in itself, NORAD, that in itself would cause a nuclear winter, and at least a small one. But there was a full exchange of weapons in both countries. Yeah, maybe an EMP attack would go a long way, since our military bases brought off principally civilian power. So an EMP attack would be something that would happen very early on. Maybe that's all they would do. Maybe they would do it out of Venezuela, as I mentioned before, and you wouldn't know who did it. Who do you hit? Who do you attack? You know, an EMP attack launched a missile out of Venezuela by Russia, North Korea, Iran, China. Who did it? Who done it? You know, who do you attack? Everybody? How do you do that? So that's something to think about. You know, I've chaired 2 Power Grid Defense Conferences. That's my podium placard right there. And that's the thing I worry about. I worry about the loss of our power, guys, because 9 out of 10 Americans are assessed to perish within a year if this happens. And that is by the EMP Congressional Task Force. One of the principal members of that is my friend, Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. And I've had him on this channel twice, and I'll bring him on again, probably not too distant future. And I serve his committee also in National Security and Homeland Defense, and also the Security Grid group that meets every week. So I support these guys to this day. But I do worry about this grid. I worry, well, if we have a full-scale war, you got to worry about everything. But the grid would be something to take down first. And that 9 out of 10 didn't take into account the people that would perish from the meltdowns and, forget the reactors, just spent fuel rod pools and all the radiation we released from that. We would have a very bad day, my friends. Extremely bad year after that. So let's hope it don't happen. Let's hope it don't come to pass. But we've got to be on our alerts. We've got to be on our awares. We've got to have our eyes wide open and head on a swivel. And for that, you better get ready and you better prepare and stay centered. But don't ever panic. Stay centered. Get ready as you can. Now you've done the best you can. Pray. Be right with your maker. And have your family and your friends all prepping. The more people that are prepping, the less people is going to, be in trouble when it all happens. And less people are going to come around, trying to eat all your stuff, or maybe you. So the more we have prepping, the better off we are. And prep is becoming mainstream. That's the good news. It is becoming mainstream. So there is good news. Now, maybe we can get more and more people ready, and we can get through these things if they come and happen. We'll cover more on that in the future. We'll do more on power grid defense in the future. But, what's the prospects for this? Everybody wants to know. What are the real most people want to know what can't happen. Well, that's what we hope. But we're talking about dictators in 2 countries here that live in an illusion. You're the head of a nation, and you're a powerful person like Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin, and you're surrounded by yes people. And the narrative that comes to you is highly skewed all the time. And your worldview also becomes commensurately skewed. And maybe ours is skewed too by the Western media that pumps us full of stuff too. So our views may all be skewed. And maybe we're thinking everything's okay, and we're thinking otherwise. Vladimir Putin has warned us several times that we're doing things that put us at risk of war. He said so. He said so repeatedly, as if to warn us. Of course, he's reporting things as he sees them himself, according to his worldview. So we don't know what that is exactly. What is his real objective? Do they really think they could take the United States down in such a way that their risk would be minimal? Do they think that that war with us is so inevitable that they have no choice? I say that's the big question. Maybe they think they have no choice. They'd rather do it while the advantage is on their side, like a surprise attack. Just ask them. I don't know. I hope not. But there's the elements of it, my friends. I was asked to do a video on this topic. I had a lot of people ask me about this topic. I've talked about it. For those of you that don't know, I've got a push-to-talk application on Zello. It's part of KLW World News. He's got a network now, and you can subscribe to his network. I think it's klwworldnews.com. And you'll get access to talk to me directly through there, through either my Green Greg's channel or my Galactic Greg's channel, or even my Freedom Restoration channel. That's nothing you do. Join our Freedom Restoration Foundation. Send me an email. Put freedom in the subject line and send the email to info@freedomrestorationfoundation.org. If you're interested in joining survival tribes, we're putting together a list for that. Put survival or tribe in the subject line. And also info@freedomrestorationfoundation.org. And go to the website, freedomrestorationfoundation.org, and check out our political alerts and other information there. All right, my friends. I'm not just somebody in here crying wolf and saying run hide. We take up the action. We try to do things about it. And so we're trying to make a difference on the positive side, in addition to praying, praying for a better future. All right, my friends. Here's the key to know. As light dispels darkness, love dispels hate. So I challenge you all to go out and shine your love light to the world. Be the light of the world. Thank you for watching.